Here's the machine I want to put Linux Mint on. It's got a Windows Vista operating system on it. And you can tell by the red it's fairly slow. By the way, I'm Scottish and I'm a male. I use a program called Speak It. And the reason I have a female American accent is I want not to sound so robotic. And still, I'm speaking. I am an artist and studying digital prints. So I am familiar with computers and what they do. And I'm not scared to take the bonnet or the hood off. Enough about me. Firstly, you have to establish what the system is, 32 or 64 bits. On Windows, you press the Start button. Then when the pop-up menu appears, you search for the control panel on the right-hand side. When the control panel window appears, you press the icon named System. Don't worry cause it's in alphabetical order. Then the system appears. You can tell all about the hardware on your system, what RAM you've got and what CPU you have installed. You can see it's a 32-bit operating system. So I'll have to download a 32-bit Linux Mint. I can recommend visiting the Ubuntu website, for they explain there how to make a CD or USB stick containing operating systems. I'm going to use an 8GB USB stick. Follow the link through and read about creating a bootable USB stick on Windows or another operating system. For now though, I'm going to download the 32-bit Linux Mint OS. Look for Linux Mint on Google. When you find the Mint site, navigate to the operating system you want to download. I am with the 32-bit Cinnamon edition because I've read it's pretty good. When you press on the desired operating system you chose, you will link to a page with a lot of links on it. Just choose the nearest one to you. It doesn't make much difference. They're called mirrors. After you've downloaded your desired operating system, it's nice to keep it in a folder in your document file. You see, you have to load it onto a USB stick from a program that I'll discuss next. I chose an 8GB USB stick because there seems to be more than the operating system on the stick. Better safe than sorry. You have to put the USB stick into the computer, but be careful of what drive it's in. This is remedied if you go to Start button and to the computer on the right-hand side. You can see there what the drive is. You have to go to the pen drive line you site to download the universal USB installer. Be careful here, as the big arrows are for downloads that you don't want. If you read it you should have no problem and it will then take you to the page with the UI download. Just press on the blue bar to download the UI. The download process. You click on the download and the usual boxes appear. Until the third box. You press on the arrow on the right-hand side of the first white box and you choose Linux Mint from the drop-down menu. In the next box you browse to your operating system file folder. This is the advice I gave you earlier. Only Linux Mint is available to you. I've downloaded the 64-bit and the 32-bit versions. So I choose the 32-bit version. The third has to do with the USB drive. Be careful and choose the right one. There now appears a slider, you slide it along fully to the right. There is a warning sign so that you choose the right USB drive, so that you do not format the whole computer. You press OK to confirm, and it starts loading and formatting your USB drive. It started putting the operating system on the USB. That should take about 5 minutes. At this stage it seems to freeze, but it's not. Please be patient. It appears to be frozen for about 30 minutes or even longer. When that's done, you press to close it. We can see that the USB drive seems to be about 75% full. The OS is only about 2 gigs. I'll take the USB drive out of the main computer. I could have done it all on the Toshiba laptop, but Windows Vista denied access to the internet. And fit the drive in the laptop? You now switch it on, but remember you have to enter the BIOS. It's particular to the make of computer. My computers are F2 and the Toshiba is F12 to enter the BIOS. I'll show you a different view of me switching it on. In the BIOS you have to navigate to the USB boot. You have to do this with the arrows on your keyboard at the bottom right. Then press Enter on your keyboard, then wait for Linux Mint to boot. And if it does, you heave a sigh of relief. All that work you did earlier paid off. I'm so excited. The boot process takes a minute, so I've speeded it up. I've booted up Linux Mint on the USB stick. You can experiment with it and mess around with it, without installing it. But I'm going to install it. It says there's Hi-Fi available, so I'm going to connect to the internet without installing it. So I press the disk icon on my desktop to install Linux Mint's operating system. Hey presto! It's installing. There's no difficulty about answering questions they ask you. I'll just skip through the installation process. It should take about 15 to 30 minutes in real time. This page gives you the opportunity to dual boot, but I'm installing the whole thing. The time zone. I'm in the UK. On this page you can choose what keyboard you want. I've chosen English UK. This is a simple form. Don't forget your username and password. Installing, extracting files and doing most things that an operating system has to do. Until eventually the operating system has to restart. When the restart is in progress, I removed the USB stick. This proves that the operating system is working on its own. Remember the username and password you chose during the installation process. They come into their own here. When Linux Mint starts up, you are presented with a welcome screen. This is quite useful. However, I have to change the background. I'll use the menu and go into System Settings. And then I can see an icon with background written underneath it. I choose Clouds and then Linux Mint is mine.